In a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit. Many ages ago, when this ancient planet was not quite so ancient, long before man recorded his history, there was the time of Middle-earth, when man shared his days with elves, dwarves, wizards, goblins, dragons, and hobbits.
Welcome back, my fellow agents. It is I, X7, your master of mystical musical mayhem and host of Zenorama, the podcast of heroes and monsters. Today, as advertised, we are going to be reviewing the 1977 television movie and first adaptation of The Hobbit. Well, first television adaptation, first full-length movie. There is that cartoon we saw parts of, and I'll probably put a little more on here at some point, given if there's enough time. Be that as it may, you know what to do now. Like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment. Again, let me know what you think about this movie. Did you like it? Do you hate it now? Did you hate it then and like it more now? Or are you about like me, about the same? And if you're ready, on with the show. We did go over this relatively recently, 2 days ago, with the musical book review, but this is the movie. And the movie, of course, was a television movie aired on NBC November 27th, 1977, some 49 and a half years ago. Perhaps I should have waited till next year, but, we were talking about it. It opens up very nicely. In a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit. And the narrator here is John Huston, which is that wonderful voice, and I have always thought of him as being, a great voice for Gandalf. He's also Gandalf, surprisingly. And we see Bilbo's Hobbit hole, and these are taken from the design is where we have here. Animated by Topcraft in Tokyo, a now defunct Japanese animation studio. And of course, they're now reformed as Studio Ghibli under Hayao Miyazaki. So I don't know. The concept artwork was completed by Rankin Bass at the Rankin Bass Studio under Rankin's direction. Rhode Island artist Lester Abrams did the initial designs, and he'd done one initially and liked them for Children's Digest, which would explain why they look like they're very stylized, shall we say. There we have one Mr. Bilbo Baggins, because a hobbit hole means comfort. And right away, Gandalf shows up, and right away the dwarves show up. So they're cutting out bunches of stuff here. How all 13 of the dwarves show up right away. And instead of having them show up one at a time, as Tolkien wrote, read the book. The book's just great. And that annotated version is even better, even though Tolkien poo-poos all the stuff that he loved growing up as a kid. Obviously, since he was an Oxford professor, his stuff is much better. Oh, I do declare. So anyway, he still created a masterpiece here. The dwarves show up and they launch right into everything. Chip the glasses, crack the plates. And magic moves me. Orson Bean voices our hero, one Bilbo Baggins, a hobbit who loves his comfort. Hans Conried is Thorin Oakenshield. We've talked about him before in many things. He's just been all over the place. And we'll get to Jack de Leon, played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 of the dwarves. Don Messick played Balin and the Lord of the Eagles. And John Stevenson played Dory. So that's all 13 of the dwarves played by 3 people. Right? 3 people? Okay. So there's the Lonely Mountain. There's the king under the mountain. The dragon shows up, and they kind of keep Smaug out of the line of sight. You see him flying, but you don't get a good look at him. Curses to the dragon, curses to Smaug. So, and there, Mr. Bilbo Baggins is the lucky number 14, even though Gandalf's, like 14 and a half or something. There is his signed contract. This copy came off the Internet Archive. They have two wonderfully upgraded versions from the Blu-ray or DVD, whatever's out. But and this one even came with subtitles, so I kept some of it in there. The Greatest Adventure, and then we hear the song "The Greatest Adventure," which, as we learned, was sung by what's his name? I knew it yesterday. Anyway, based on the original version of The Hobbit, almost loosely based, but pretty close, except for some changes. For a 77, 78-minute movie, they had to do something there. And Rankin Bass had worked with Japanese studios before, like I said, with King Kong. But I like the way it looks. I mean, there is some marching, but not nearly as much as there would be in a certain trilogy of other movies based on Tolkien's double trilogy. Ugh. And I think Gandalf looks good here. Gandalf the Grey still. But Bilbo just looks like a child. The big eyes, probably, as a result of some of the Japanese influence there. And we get trolls that talk. Tom and I don't know who the other trolls, or the other trolls. Troll number 2 and troll number 3, Don Messick. Paul Frees plays Bomber. Okay, so there were 4 people that did it. And troll number 1, so one of them is named Tom, and they sound just like common Englishmen, which I believe Tolkien did on purpose. But burglar, do your burgling. Bilbo gets caught right away. He was not a successful burglar at this point in time. And really, they just suddenly, they leave out the whole thing about where Gandalf gets them to argue amongst each other until dawn. They just, dawn take you all. And they turn to stone. This is one of the few ties that we would get in the Lord of the Rings, because they come across the 3 stone trolls who have nests in them now. It becomes something useful. But in the Lord of the Rings, the trolls don't talk anymore. The orcs don't really talk too much, but they're goblins here. Like I said, Lord of the Rings depends on the orcs. Everything he wrote after depends on The Hobbit. Everything Tolkien wrote after The Hobbit depends on The Hobbit. Hobbit's fine by itself. And he finds a hidden stored treasure. And he keeps saying things, whatever our runes, whatever our... he's obviously a stand-in for the audience, so they can do some pontificating about things, filibustering, if you will. So what are our runes? So I don't know, but he finds Sting, his elvish blade, which is an elvish dagger, but for him it's a blade. And Gandalf gives Thorin his father's map. He doesn't mention where he found it. And there it is, a secret entrance. There's the key, and off they go to Rivendell. And this is a fun movie, the Down in the Valley, fun song. And there's Elrond. Elrond himself is voiced by Cyril Richard. Let's see, he was Captain Hook in the Mary Martin musical performance. So he's got an excellent pedigree in fantasy. He's got both his hands here too. Thorin, Orcrist, the Goblin Cleaver, and Glamdring, the Foe Hammer, or as the goblins call him, Beater and Biter. Biter and Beater. And then you have the Moon Runes. Bilbo says, I say, whatever are Moon Runes? And that's where they tell him where the, look when the thrush knocks at the setting of the sun at the winter, the equinox. So off they go up the mountains and into a cave, which they really should have looked at. They show the trolls throwing rocks down, but they don't even explain them. Goblins grab the horses, and there he is. These are not the goblins and the orcs we see in any other, in the Return of the King cartoon that Rankin Bass did. They look very similar. But here they are. Who are these miserable persons? But then the Goblin Cleaver, and right before he's about to apparently eat Thorin, Gandalf shows up. Nice trick he has there. He knows that and then he slices his head off, kills the great goblin. Bjorn is left out completely due to time constraints. Not surprising. Off they go, but unfortunately, Bomber drops Bilbo, and down he goes. Roll down, down, down to Goblin Town. He's gone, and there we see the first representation of Gollum. That is not quite, his appearance is not quite what it should have been. He's more of a monster, kind of a frog-like creature. There you go, Agent Frog. You get a shout out here, but I doubt you want that. because it's Gollum. But the voice is perfect. The voice is by Brother Theodore, who was a comedian of a German American actor and comedian. Stand-up tragedy, he called it. I didn't know that. But look what he's found. A magic ring, which when the story was first written was just a magic ring. And a nice souvenir. Sting, he's, glows in the presence. It's elvish, so it glows in the presence of goblins. But so we have the riddles in the dark here, and each one of them said 3, but they only said 1 or 2. And he's going to eat it. Is it scrumptious? The voice is great, really great. Even if he's not supposed to look like Gollum, or Gollum doesn't look like. Time. What have I? No. So he's going to go get his birthday present, and as we know now, it's gone. And Bilbo finds out, oh, it turns me invisible. Bless my soul. The thief, the Baggins, we hates it. Again, top-notch work here. I'd stack that up against the one in the movies. No question about it. It doesn't show you that Bilbo spares Gollum's life for some reason. The art of being obtrusive, the ring of truth. Yeah, they kind of, this is some 40 years after the book's been published, so there's a lot of, leeway here to say Gandalf figured it out right away. He didn't really, at least in the book. And the wargs and the goblins. So they do assume that a lot of people were familiar with The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings because, the wargs, which were vicious, gigantic wolves, they sing a great song here. They throw them down, but all is about loss because they set the trees on fire and the dwarves and but there he is. Again, the voice acting is top notch. The Great Goblin is John Stevenson, Dr. Benton Quest himself. And let's see. The Eagles have come. Wait, that's Bilbo's. Oh, this is Bilbo's story. And a lot of whining here, but they're sure they're going to drop them off to dash them to their deaths. They don't take them to the Eyrie. There's another thing they left out. I do know The Hobbit a little bit. And they don't, this is where Bjorn would be. And again, which would have been nice. I think they should have done this as a 3-part movie over 3 nights and just built into it because it has places where you could do it. But as an hour long, not 2 hours, not 90 minutes, each one an hour, and you get, an extra time. You could have put more stuff in. Gwenda, I don't remember what his Lord of the Eagles name is. It's, what is his name? Sentience dilemma. Yeah, because eagles talk here too. He's got a name, and I'm drawing a blank at what it is. It's Gwenda something, right? But Gandalf saved his life, and eagles could talk here. They couldn't talk in The Lord of the Rings, could they? And now they're going into Mirkwood. Stay on the path, you idiots. And he's got pressing business away south, which we know is with the necromancer, a.k.a. Sauron, and blah, blah, blah. So I just like that he's already late because of bothering with you people. It's a very British way of saying things. And he says, keep a journal so I can point out your missteps. There and back again. There's things in the woods, and then he has to climb a tree. But before that, we have station identification. You are watching Xenorama, the podcast of heroes and monsters on KXNO, part of the Xenorama Broadcasting Network. We now return you to our regularly scheduled program. While Bilbo is in the top of the trees, he wonders if he ever wanted to see his hobbit hole again. And we hear a snippet of the greatest adventure. The song is very pleasant, but they use it a lot. And then he comes down and the spiders have attacked, or he wakes up with the spiders attacking him. And he does his first brave thing and kills one and names his sword Sting. Stingorama. The sword called Sting, who trademarked the name Sting before the sting of the police did. Go figure how that happened. The spiders are gruesome. They are the only females in the entire movie. And they are going to eat the dwarves. The dwarves keep getting themselves caught, but Bilbo puts on that ring and goes around, frees them. They've got poison in them. They don't mention that the spiders have bit them to cause them to get drowsy. But he kills a bunch of them, and they just flash. Or he doesn't, see him get stabbed or anything, and he scares them away, and he calls a matter cop, and that's just insulting if you're a spider. Then they run right into the wood elves that live there. They don't look like this in any other movie. They don't look like the elf that relations to Gandalf. There's a complicated history of the elf family history, and I'm not getting into that. That's for the Broken Sword to do, which I do really enjoy their content on YouTube. There's the Elf King, and the Elf King is voiced by director and actor Otto Preminger, one of the original Mr. Freezes, one of the 3 original Mr. Freezes. I want to say he was the first one. He's my favorite because he's hilarious. But they're strange looking. Why? I mean, yeah. Anyway, they have long legs and short little bodies. So they've held captive for quite a while. They don't mention that either, but they get out by burglary. He burgles them, frees them, and gets the elves drunk and rolls them down the river, which is right out of the book. And there is the Bardstown Lake. I forget what I should know that. Lake Town probably, and he introduces them. This is pretty much how it is. They're waterlogged, and there's Bard, also voiced by Dr. Quest, John Stevenson there, and he of course would become king. Then they give him food and send him off to go kill the dragon, all 14 of them. And apparently dragons smell, which is probably mostly sulfur and such. There's the thrush. Bilbo's the one who finds this out. By thunder. He puts the key in, and now he has to go learn his keep. And he has a nice shot at them because I've saved your lives twice. You owe me for that, but it's not in his contract. And dwarves are greedy. I mean, that's something that they talk about. And there we have Smaug, voiced by the great Richard Boone, who would also be in The Last Dinosaur. And he's wonderful here. And I've always thought Smaug definitely had some cat-like influence on him. Help yourself, there is plenty and to spare. I did have the double LP set of this movie. You have nice manners for a thief and a liar. And Bilbo, who should have known better than to try to riddle with a dragon. But he does get him to open up, and he sees a chunk out of his armor. And then he says this, takes expert catching, and runs up there. But yeah, that does happen. And one of his favorite sayings after getting home was, "Never laugh at live dragons, Bilbo." Just something to always remember. They added this. My brother and I, when we watched this, thought it was hilarious. His butt's on fire. Extinguish me. With what water? So Smaug goes as enraged. He goes out like twice or 3 times in the book. Everything's condensed here. We're almost done. He goes out, attacks Lake Town. Bilbo sends the thrush because somehow he figures the Lake Town people can speak thrush, like the thrush can speak to the raven, who can speak to the dwarves. Lots of animals could talk to other beings. Great shot here. And arrows do nothing. The thrush shows up and tells Bard where to go. Black Arrow. I have had you since days of old. You've always been returned to me. Plunk. Down he goes. And Smaug's dead. Then there should be, gold and jewels inside him and all sorts of things. And then the dwarves are now having to defunkify the hall there. And the 3 armies, the men, the humans, and the elves show up, and they want compensation. And he's like, no. Bilbo's like, what? And they're like, well, we're coming to get you. You have there's 13 or 14 of you. Bilbo doesn't get to wear his mithril, which is sad. I don't know why. The subtitle did add subtitles for the songs, which he didn't have to do. 14 against 10,000. And then Dane shows up. So now we have 3 armies. We don't even know who Dane is, but he was introduced to the book in the exact same way. Dane, my cousin from the Iron Hills, who would later become king under the mountains. Spoiler alert. Yeah. And they called, get that old fool out of the way, and it's Gandalf. How did they not recognize him? And then he says, okay, now you've got goblins and wargs are coming down and they want the treasure. So a battle of 4 armies. And then they all become friends. They're like, oh, dearest ally, which was done to be funny, but you know what? After all that nonsense. So the battle begins. That's how they show it, which is economical and effective. They don't show Bilbo getting knocked on the head. And then when they see the eagle show up, a battle of 5 armies. And that's really it. They drop them, lots of slain people. And in the book, only 3 of the dwarves are killed. Fili, Kili, and, well, Thorin, as we'll find out. But they had to kill 4 more. Bomber, including Bomber and Gimli's father. So, but this is right out of the book and is really effective. And yeah, Bilbo cries, which, as he was a tender little soul. 2 tiny bags of gold. He took a bag of gold and a bag of silver in the book. I don't know why that was changed, but and the ring. He doesn't even deny it now. And this is how the book ends. You're only quite a fellow in the whole wide world after all. Thank goodness. But then we have to add this could have been a post-credits scene. If you really understood that ring, it is only the beginning. Poor Frodo, who was really a cipher. But you know what to do. I do like the movie. I think it's a fairly good adaptation of the book, given the limitations and everything. And you can find it anywhere pretty much. But watch out for the kiddies. They can't handle violence.
Until the next time that Gandalf the Grey would knock upon the round green door.
Yeah, in for a penny, in for a pound. Gandalf would come back to that green door many times because he and Bilbo were friends. So tomorrow we are going to be having Shaolin Saturday with the 10 Tigers of Guandong, or Kwang Tung as it was called back in the day. This is a very interesting movie, and it's literally an all-star cast. But until that next assignment, my fellow agents, this is X7 signing off and phasing out. And remember, the road does go ever, ever on, under hill and under stone.
Tigers of Kwangtung in a ferocious and spectacular battle against Manchu mercenaries. No mercy asked, none given, as the 10 Tigers take on an army of killers in a head-to-head battle to the death. The 10 Tigers, 10 tons of TNT, 10 times the Kung Fu action, 10 Tigers of Kwangtung.